All right, Dr. Francis Yu here. Today, I want to talk about time. In particular, the way that I've been hearing being used in the physician world, business world, entrepreneur world, the life world, the living world. The terms time management or time is your greatest asset. Time is your greatest resource. And basically, it's nonsense. It makes no sense. So, what do I mean? I love having my philosophy background, looking into the assumptions and what exactly is being said. So, first, what is an asset or resource? First, an asset is something that you have that is worth something. Okay. And a resource is something you use to achieve an objective. Now, what do these two things have in common? It implies or explicitly means that you have it, you own it, it's yours, it belongs to you. Time does not belong to a person. It does not belong to you or to me. In the same way that the economy doesn't belong to a person, in extreme circumstances, the economy can be affected by a singularity, a person. And under extreme circumstances, perception of time can be affected if speed of light and all that physics stuff. But time is not something you own. So it's not a resource. It's not an asset. Time is our way of describing, perceiving, mentioning, and talking about, discussing a phenomenon that we share. The continuation of a moment to another moment, from another moment, and relatedness to another moment. Let's say springtime comes after wintertime, before summertime, but it's also cyclically repeated. There's another springtime. But we also use time to in this foundation or perspective of sharing a phenomenon. It's also the way we use to make measurements of time. So whether it be seconds, minutes, hours, years, it is a way we talk about time. But then when someone says, I have 5 minutes, I have 5 years, that it just doesn't make sense etymologically or semantically. Time isn't something that's had. In my perspective, time is the cost. If we're talking about our living and our business and our profession or relationship, whatever it is, time is the cost. So I've been using this example, Star Wars, watching a movie. Watching Star Wars Episode 4, approximately, costs 2 hours. So that is the cost, similar to the cost of watching this video of me. Actually, I don't know how long this video will be. It costs a certain number of minutes. But of what? Now with money, it's a little bit more clearer because the words we use actually make sense. So let's say, I'm going to use this, this is the closest thing I can here. So this my Life Extension Foundation multivitamins. This bottle of vitamins costs, actually I don't know how much. Let's just say it costs $30. Costs $30. So the cost is $30, and I used my asset, my resource of $30 to purchase this thing that's worth $30. You know what? Let's say 120 just to get the 120 similarity. Let's say this costs $120 and I paid $120 of my $120, or I guess technically it could be someone else's money, but someone's $120 was spent on this $120 cost bottle of vitamins. Now, with time, watching Star Wars costs 120 minutes. But of what? Of minutes of time. Then the question here is, what is the resource? What is the asset that is used to purchase this movie watching? And it has to be something we have. It has to be a resource, meaning we can use it to achieve an objective. And it has to be an asset, meaning it's valuable to us. It's worth something. And here it's attention. And luckily, English has the phrase, pay attention. So I paid 120 minutes of attention to pay the cost of 120 minutes of watching Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope for the, 20th or how many times I watched it now. So why is this important at all? Because if we think time is a resource or an asset, we're so sorely disappointed because we think then we can control it. We can manage it. We can make our time do stuff. But no, that just linguistically, etymologically, philosophically psychologically just doesn't make sense. So when someone says, I don't have time for this, they can't mean that. Because, let's say, I don't have time to spend time with you right now. Because I have to go see a patient or something. But that doesn't mean you don't have time. It means your attention, you want to be paying attention to something else and not to the particular task the alternative task of eating lunch. So that's actually a great example. Instead of paying attention to drinking water and having a meal, a busy physician may attend to their work instead. Which that's not good. So eating and drinking water is very important. So by thinking that time is a resource or an asset, it externalizes that it's a resource. That it's something that if something happens, something goes wrong, I can blame then time, or there wasn't enough time, or they didn't give me enough time. It's makes it easy to make an excuse because it's externalizable. But with attention, it's yours and yours. It's so clear that it's just yours. So when I say there wasn't enough time, what I really mean is my attention that I gave to this project or objective was not enough to achieve this objective. Let's say I told you to watch Star Wars Episode 4 in 100 minutes. Now, I'm assuming you're not gonna speed it up or whatever. It's not that you didn't have enough time. You had 100 minutes of attention as a resource to pay. You have 100 minutes to pay attention. 100 attention points, which is basically we're measured in time, same way our money and the cost of something is measured in dollars. But by declaring that it is our attention that is being not utilized properly or the way we want, we then have to own that decision, and it belongs to us because no one else can dictate where our attention goes. Well, they can try, but in the end, you're the one that gives your attention to anything. So, but what about distractions, attention deficit, and things like this? So let's give an example of you're watching Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, and then someone calls you on the phone, and you end up talking on the phone while the movie is running. And you play some game. I don't know what games are popular on the phone. Candy Crush, whatever. Check your social media. And all of that took 20 minutes of your attention. Could you say you watched the movie still? It depends on your definitions, but what I'm trying to say, actually, it doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is you weren't paying attention to the movie. And it's clear, if you are seeing Star Wars Episode 4 for the first time, that you will miss parts of the movie because your attention was being paid somewhere else. So, the main point of this is that speaking about our attention as a resource, number one, just makes sense. Time is a resource, time is an asset, time as something that can be managed, all don't make sense. What we can manage, or we can try to attempt to manage, resource and asset we can try to use is our attention. And if you change the way we speak, the second point is that we realize it's ours. Attention is ours. If we try to blame time, we're externalizing our responsibility, and that doesn't really lead anywhere productive. Ultimately, number three, we have to use the right words and right context, right cognitive frameworks. Otherwise, we're just flubbing around and not really accomplishing or going in the direction we want to. And part of me is just my personality. Part of it is just my background in studying mathematics and philosophy in undergraduate. And just trying to clarify and provide the right framework to do things. Because otherwise, there's misunderstanding, you misconstrue, and then you're going the wrong path. And if someone says, turn there, what does that mean? Turn over there. Or do you mean turn into this side road? Or do you mean a U-turn? Or do you mean 3/4 turn into the diagonal road? And where's there? Is the there the next available turn? Or the next light? And so, again, what I'm trying to say is the context and being clear about what we're saying is so important. So, again, time is not a resource. Time is not an asset. And there's so many, at least three problems with that I spoke about here. So it is difficult because it's at least using the words, we're so used to spending time or pay or I don't have time. But by deliberately, intentionally using the actual correct words, I cannot pay attention to this right now. Something else requires my attention. For the same reason, you can't attend two classes at the same time. Well, you could try by having one on Zoom and one on GoToMeeting or Google Hangouts, but you wouldn't be able to pay attention to both classes. So retraining ourselves to think properly, how to think, is so valuable in getting anything done. So time is not a resource. Time is not an asset. Time cannot be managed. Our attention is a resource. And attention is ours, ultimately ours. And number three, an attention is something we can manage. We can manage how we use our attention by learning how our attention is, where we pay attention. All right, this is Dr. Yu signing off. Finished talking about time for today.